Hey guys, welcome to video number 2 on the Pinewood Derby Batmobile Trophy Series race car. So far, in this video 1, just went ahead and opened everything up, went ahead and inventoried stuff just to kind of see what was there. And I went ahead and started sanding down the car a little bit with some of the enclosed sandpaper. Okay, got 120 grit and I believe 200 grit. Went ahead and started sanding it down some. Parts that you really want to start concentrating on to begin with are going to be the end grain parts. Alright, basically it's just the parts that are rough. Alright, it's as simple as that. If you see something a little bit rough, start sanding it down. Now, tip on sandpaper. If you like the nice angular look of this car right here, don't round over the sandpaper when you're using it. Okay, what some people will do is they'll hold their sandpaper on it like this, and they want to work this area here, but what ends up happening is they start inadvertently curling over the edge. And if you like that look, more rounded over shape, hey, that's exactly what you need to do. But if you're like me, kind of like some more angular, me looking type profile, try to really be careful and not sand over those edges too much. Alright, now as you can see, I went ahead and already inserted the tail fins right here. Living down in Florida, it is pretty humid here, and I think that the wood expanded just a little bit. It got a really tight fit. Right now I don't even have glue in here. It's just a friction fit. They're in there that tight. If you're in other parts of the country where the humidity is not so high, these actually might be kind of loose, and you might not be able to do that, but I had to really kind of work these nice and gentle, so didn't break them to get them in there. Alright, so now they're in all nice and tight. Now the type of glue that I'm going to be using is this right here. Oops, wrong one. This one right here. Alright, this is just the thin CA glue. Alright, again, that's just another fancy name for super glue. And all I'm going to do is put just a little bead right through there. Okay, that's really all it takes to hold this in place. Okay. Now, since this is so incredibly thin, it's like thinner than water, it's going to get absorbed into those grains, into those fibers, and get a really nice tight hold on there. Okay, not worrying about using any kind of yellow glue or white glue. It's a really good type of glue, the PVAs, the polyvinyl adhesives. But for this type of application, you don't need anything really heavy duty, just something like. Alright, the other type of glue that I was just telling you about is the PVA, polyvinyl adhesive. Okay, this is basically your yellow glues. Okay, you can use something like that if that's what you have. Just keep in mind there is a little bit of a cleanup issue sometimes because it can squeeze out a little bit. It's a great glue. Matter of fact, this Tight Bond 2 premium wood glue, this is my go-to for 99% of my projects. But again, for this, just using some liquid CA glue. So went ahead and put the bead on the top. You can see a little bit of yellowing where that got absorbed, and also did it on the back side because it goes into the end grain really well here, and also into these fins. So those are in there super tight. They are not going to come out. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start to prime and paint this thing, and start getting this thing assembled. Okay, now for the primer, I'm going to try something a little bit new. I haven't done this before, but I know this is going to work pretty well. This is a product by Zinsser, Bullseye. This is called shellac. Okay, shellac has been used forever. Right? It's been around for a long time. And what it is a finish and sealer. Okay, now it says clear, but let me show you. And you open it up. That's what it looks like. It's weird kind of, honey amber color. Okay, but it goes on relatively clear. All right. Now it has a pretty strong odor. It's kind of a sweet, almost honey smell to it. Kind of hard to describe, and it goes on. Pretty thin and really smooth. Also, keep in mind this stuff dries super fast. Okay. Okay. Now, in the car. See these little holes that I made right there? I'll show you what those are in just a second. And here's a hint, it has to do with these push pins. Alright, I'm actually going to use this enclosed foam brush that they gave me. And I'm going to start with the bottom. Okay? And the back side. Go ahead and get that too. Now, shellac is really cool. It's kind of a universal sealant, primer, in between coats. It's a really great product. And right now I'm just going to see how it does acting as a primer for me. Okay, now I've gotten a decent majority of it. Alright, now what I'm going to do with the push pins, I already made little holes in there with the push pins. I pulled them right back out. So, go in here just like that. Tricky to do with the camera right in front of me. Alright, and all that's doing is make a little stand for it. Alright, backs up a little bit. So now I can get to it and work on it a little bit easier. Alright, I don't have to wait forever for one side to dry. Well, with shellac you never have to wait very long anyway. And it's just going to help out with the drying process. So, I'm going to finish this, and then I'll move on to the next step. So, while you're waiting for that to dry, let me show you this. This is a Dremel. Alright, this is a high-speed rotary tool. Now, first thing you might ask is, can I still do this project without a Dremel? Absolutely. You do not have to have one of these things. But, can you make a bunch of other Pinewood Derby style projects and stuff without a Dremel or, without some other power tools? Well, let me answer it like this. You can still do algebra without a calculator. It's going to take a lot longer, but it's still possible. Okay, so if you have the means, go out and get one if you already have one. Super convenient to have. Now, that being said, I've got a actual drill style chuck in there, and what we're going to be doing is taking the axle and actually chucking it right down inside there. Let me tighten this up a little bit. There we go. Now, one of the biggest things that slow down Pinewood Derby cars is going to be rolling resistance on the axle. Now, the axles have been made a little bit better in recent years. There used to be like a little burr type thing right up here, right where the head of the axle is. Thankfully, that's gone. But what you can do is, once you get this all chucked up, you get your piece of sandpaper, you fold it up properly, and you can go super high grit if you like. I've done some cars where I go to literally 2,000 grits and wet sand these things. Okay, so really all you have to do, chuck it in like that, and then polish the axle. Okay, just for demonstration, I'm just going to use some sandpaper right here. Turn this thing on. And start to polish that up a little bit. And again, that's going to help out with rolling resistance, so these things can get going a whole lot faster. So it's been about 2 hours at this point. The car is now totally dry. Hit it with some 600 wet dry sandpaper because the shellac left a little bumpy surface on there, so I went ahead and smooth that all out. If you hit it with some 600, make sure that you don't sand all the way through the shellac. All you're trying to do is just smooth it out a little bit so you can go ahead and go with your finish coat. Alright, now when it was drying, I had it in the push pins. Alright, for the painting part, I'm going to be doing a little bit different on this one. I just want to show you a different technique. I drilled a 3/16 inch hole back here, and that's going to be fitting this 3/16 inch dowel rod. Alright, and now I'm just going to stick this down in here, and now I can hold it and turn it all different directions and stuff without getting paint all over my fingers. Alright, when I'm all done, I'm just going to clamp the end stick part down into my shop vise and let the thing dry. Alright, just like that. Now, if you notice, I only did small little sprays with the spray paint. Alright, you do not want to put this stuff on too thick. It'll start dripping and running and be a giant pain in the butt if you do it that way. Alright, so just put on one really light coat, just the first coat right now, and probably going to put 5 or 6 more coats on there, sanding with probably about 1,000 grit sandpaper in between each coat. Alright, making sure that you're not sanding through the layers of paint, you're just smoothing them out. Alright, just gonna put this in the bench vise, let this thing dry, and start working on it little by little. Okay, like I said, got it all clamped up in the vise right now. Just got the dowel rod that I was holding, just got that clamped in right here, and then that way the car can just sit freely, air can circulate all the way around it, and it's going to be drying a lot faster. Okay. Again, this is the Rust-Oleum product that I'm using on this project. And when you're done using this, I forgot to mention this a second ago, invert the can, okay? Depress the trigger, and then that's going to clear out all the paint so you don't have any paint drying inside the tip, okay? Oftentimes you only have one can of spray paint. You want this thing to last as long as you can, so try not to have it clog up in the tip. Alright?